Hi class. Today we're going to talk about two topics. One, different types of three-dimensional shapes, and then two, what's the difference between the volume and the surface area of three-dimensional shapes. So to start off with, let's look at a few different three-dimensional shapes. The first type of shape is called a prism. So a prism basically has the same top and the same bottom, and then the sides are connected to make rectangular faces. So a very easy one is something called a rectangular prism. Basically, anytime you see a box, that's a rectangular prism. The bottom's a rectangle, the top is a rectangle, and all the vertices are connected by lines in order to make rectangles. Now, something called a triangular prism is going to have a triangular bottom and a triangular top, and then again, all the sides are connected to make rectangles. You can get a little bit fancier. For example, I have with me something called a hexagonal prism because the top and the bottom are both hexagons, but the sides again are connected in order to make rectangles. That's a hexagonal prism. If the bottom and the top of your shape is a circle, then you have something called a cylinder, and we'll be finding the volume and surface area of these different types of shape later on. Also later on, we might explore things called like pyramids and cones. All right, now the second topic, what is the difference between the volume and the surface area of an object? So quite simply, a volume is the amount of three-dimensional space an object takes up. How much space does it take up? Or you can think of it as how much stuff can go inside of it. So for example, for this tissue box, the volume would be how much tissue can fit inside this box. Whereas the surface area is literally the area of all the different surfaces. All of these rectangles on the side add up all those areas, and that's the surface area. That's kind of like how much cardboard makes up this box. For the triangular prism, again, the volume is how much stuff can fit inside of it, but the surface area is just what is the area of all of the faces? What's the area of this triangle, and this triangle, and this rectangle, and this rectangle, and this rectangle? Add up all those areas and you get the surface area. And then for the can of beans, the volume is how much beans can fit in here. But the surface area, the surface is the actual aluminum can. So how much aluminum did it take to make the top and the bottom and the side? So that's the surface area. So to recap, when we think about volume and surface area, the volume is the amount of three-dimensional space an object takes up. You can think of it as asking how much stuff will fit inside that object. And we measure volume in cubic units because a cube is a three-dimensional shape, and so we want to essentially know how many cubes would fit inside that shape. So you might see units like units cubed, centimeters cubed, inches cubed, or you can call it cubic inches, cubic centimeters, cubic units. The surface area, however, is the area of all the faces added up. So you take the bottom, you take the top, you take all the sides, you add up all those areas, and that's the surface area. It's basically the area of all the outside faces of the shape. And we measure that in square units because when we look at any one surface or any one face, we want to know how many squares would fit in that, and then how many squares really would fit in all of the surfaces eventually. So you've seen that when we did area, unit squared, centimeter squared, inches squared, feet squared, things like that. All right, before you go, I want you to think of a three-dimensional shape in your home right now. For that shape, what's the volume of that shape? What would that consist of? And what is the surface area of the shape? What does that consist of? All right, have a good one.